All right, guys, thank you so much for coming out. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for coming to Startup Pueblo. We took a break in June and July, but we'll go this month, September and October for the rest of 25. If we haven't met, my name is Dante Bartolo. I'm one of the co-organizers along with Prudence. And every month we just try to find a speaker, whether they have an entrepreneurship journey or some expertise to share with you, and it's all about learning. So appreciate you guys coming out to do that with us today. For our speakers tonight, Jonathan and Audrey, thank you guys for coming out. I think what's cool about what you guys do is kind of help business owners think about their business differently in ways they haven't before. I've had the pleasure of sitting in on a talk before, and that's what I got out of it. And being able to fully learn something by kind of almost teaching it, whether it's to yourself or to employees. But thank you so much for being here, and please help me welcome them to the talk.
Thank you. It's always good for us to leave Fremont County, get out of the woods a little bit, come down here to Pueblo. We were just talking actually before we got started how much we enjoy coming down to Pueblo and being here. So thanks for having us tonight. We are Haas Technical Writing. We are a global technical writing, marketing, and curriculum-based company. The name is outdated. We have emerged well beyond just technical writing. But for the time being, because we have been so busy, we haven't had a time to fully rebrand the way we need to. But for the sake of this evening, we are going to talk about, technical writing and marketing. So again, I started the company in 2018. We actually started globally and moved locally over the last 5 years. We still have some international clients. We have clients kind of California, New York right now, but the majority of our business we have right now is in Fremont County. We've done a little bit of work in Pueblo with the college, and we hope to continue to make our way, be out here a little bit more. Last winter, through a very generous grant from the Pueblo Latino Chamber of Commerce, I decided I need a new website. I know just enough about marketing to know that I shouldn't be doing marketing. So I had a really bad website that kind of just put together a little bit as we went. I got the grant from Noah and his team, and I had somebody redo my website. And as the process was going along, I'm like, dang, she's really good at this. And then I was regularly having clients ask me, hey, do you do marketing? No, you do not want me to do your marketing. We write blogs and stuff a little bit, but for the most part we don't do. But Audrey did our website, and she did such a good job with it, I'm like, we need to bring her on as a contractor so we can expand our marketing services. She will talk a little bit more specifically about the marketing, but all of our laterals that we have in the company, we really pride ourselves on where are you at as a business. We do not try to sell you packages that are above what you need. We meet you where you are. So if you are a small business and you need a few standard operating procedures, or you need a little bit of marketing, social media, a small website to get you going, we will meet you at that, and then our goal is that we hope we can grow with you. As your business grows, we can then grow our services there. Just this week, I had to add this slide this afternoon. Yesterday we were featured in the Southern Colorado Business Forum and Digest. It's a mouthful. For some of the work that we are doing with our standard operating procedures and how we integrate that with school curriculum. It's been a really cool project to work on. Hopefully I have a little bit of time to end with it, but we're really proud of the work that we are doing in that space.
Wait, is that Michael?
That is Michael, right there. This was definitely not a staged picture. So again, we've got 3 great partners. Some of them are greater than others, but we've got 3 partners that we work with. We are members of the Canyon City, the Royal Gorge Chamber Alliance, the Latino Chamber of Commerce here in Pueblo. Noah and his team has been incredibly supportive of our work. We've really enjoyed that partnership that we have with them. And then we also work a lot with the Emergent Campus in Florence. If you're not familiar with the Emergent Campus, You should check them out. They get some really great tech-based stuff going on down there. And they have been supporters of ours, not only from a financial standpoint, but when you're a small business and you're just getting started, you kind of know sometimes it's nice to have a cheerleader and have people on your side. Emerging Campus has been that for us and things that we've done. Currently, we are working with these companies for standard operating procedures, and you will see it is a very wide range. Section 61 is an MSP and accounting company. Three Rocks Engineering is a growing civil engineering and surveying company in Canyon City. LPPD, that is the Lincoln Park Pump Ditch. We have been working with them to write standard operating procedures and help modernize their delivery of water to their shareholders. Omnilux is a global leader. If any of you watched Paramount over Christmas time, you saw an Omnilux ad, guarantee it. They've got the red LED face mask, the cosmetic masks. They're based out of Napa Valley. We've been working with them over a year now. Mount San Rafael Hospital, we just created a standard operating procedure and internship course for them. And then the biggest client we currently have right now is Miticus Manufacturing. I'm going to guess you've never heard of them. You will. They are a steel fabrication and tiny home company that is just starting up down in Florence. Their goal is to hire about 200 people in the next couple of years. And they have some really cutting edge, great stuff going on. We've been really excited to help them get started down there. Next, our marketing customers. We have a wide range here. Again, you'll see some overlap. A lot of times we start with a company, they really like what we do. We say, hey, let me introduce you to Audrey and our marketing team. So we have that. We think it's really important to have that synergy between how teams talk in their businesses with standard operating procedures and the terminology and the language they use. We want that same language used with customers. So when you have that synergy between your operating procedures and your marketing, it makes it easier to do sales. It makes it easier to talk to customers when they have a support issue. So really having that synergy is awesome for us. And then you can see we've got a wide range here. We've got everything from an apothecary to a fly fishing tournament. Possum Party's a little party shop in Canyon City that just got started. Mortgage companies, Tor does shampoos and stuff like that. Shampoo, what else do they do?
They do just beauty and wellness care products. Yeah.
So it has been, and then this one's new. That's Carla's, right? So we have
For school board.
So we have somebody in our town running for school board, and Audrey's done her marketing for that as well. So you'll see we've got a wide range there, from MSPs to steel companies to hair care products to someone running for school board. So my passion is working with businesses to go in and help businesses try to figure out what their processes look like. It is incredibly difficult for a business to bring on new employees, to train customers on how things work if they don't have well-defined processes. So one of the things that I would like you to think about right now is what is one process in your department that you would benefit from being clearly outlined and defined. Something that you guys do on a daily basis that you know if you work in a business that there's 3 people, that you may have 3 people doing it totally different. And just kind of get that idea in your head. We think about these, we're going to try to document them in standard operating procedures. So as you're thinking about that procedure, figure out which of these 3 buckets your SOP falls in. Almost all SOPs fit into one of these first. First one, bucket 1, regulatory compliance. We're being told I have to do this, right? I hate doing those because I know what's going to happen with them. Once we document them, they go on a shelf and no one ever looks at them. We will do them for you, but they're just not fun for me to write. The second one is one that we have been working a lot with the last year that really kind of came up unexpectedly. We have business owners ready to take their business to market, and they've realized, hey, if I put all of my procedures, I'm now not just selling the business, I'm selling how we do everything. That adds value to the business at the time of sale. And then the third one is that we want to make sure the processes are being followed, or you want to evaluate your processes. We want to see if they're accurate, efficient, scalable. Those are the ones we love to do. We like to get down with the business, sit with them, look at a procedure, and go, is this working? How can we make it better? Can we automate in certain places? Michael will tell you that that experience is not always fun. But when you kind of peel back the curtain and you really look at how you were doing business, you can learn about a lot about what you were doing and where you can make improvements. So that process that I asked you to think about which one you can do, hopefully it fits in one of these buckets. So the benefits, why do you want to have standard operating procedures? We learned during COVID, that a lot of companies had institutional knowledge living in one person's head. If something happened to that one person, business was in trouble. We saw a lot of businesses during that time really struggle with operations when they had to move from an office to maybe hybrid, or if they were still functioning as they normally were. If something happened to that one person, it created a lot of issues. So if you have critical people on your team and you don't have your processes documented, you are setting yourself up for failure. Loans and other funding, we have taken nonprofits that we've worked with, and they have taken our standard operating procedures. A lot of times with a grant, how do you do this? They just take our standard operating procedure and say, this is how we do it. Increased employee retention. Number one reason employees leave. We have documented this anecdotally, and I really need to start collecting some hard stats on it, is money. A lot of times you can't do anything about that. Money's money. Somebody's going to get paid more across the street and they go. The number two reason you can't prevent, and that's because they have become frustrated and they do not know what they should be doing from day to day. That is your employees typically from 0, the day they start, to 6 months. We go in and we start looking at companies and like why those people are struggling during that time, and it's because they have no design processes. I had a little sheet of paper that unfortunately I've lost somewhere along the way, that there was a young lady at a paint company in Indiana that we worked with, and she quit after about a month. And they asked her in the exit interview, why did you leave? She's like, I don't ever know what I'm doing. This is what I was given to be trained on. And what it was a little sticky note where somebody wrote down instructions for her to do something, and then come and find out the 3 different people that did that job did it differently. So one person was saying, this is how you do it. Another person was then telling her the next day she was wrong. She got tired of it. She's like, I'm out. I don't want to deal with this. So it does help with employee retention. Easier scalability. If you want to start a second location, the worst thing, when I see businesses are like, yeah, we're going to grow. I'm like, cool, let's get some stuff done. Now we're good, we know what we're doing. And then they open a second location. And they think because they open a second location, put the same sticker on the door, that the processes are naturally going to follow. They go into their second location and they flounder because they just didn't know what the people were doing at location 1 to make it successful. And then a lot of business owners that I worked with, that going back to the paint company in Indiana, when we first started working with him, I asked him, what do you want your goal to be? What is your end goal for this SOP project? And he said to me, I wasn't around a lot when my daughter was growing up. She's like, we were running this business, it's 5th generation, I really wanted to expand it. He said, I am having my first grandchild in 5 weeks. I would like to be able to walk out of here and spend some time with my grandchild and not have to worry about this place burning down. So if nothing else, if you are a business owner, when you know you have things documented, you know you can take a vacation, you can go away because you have processes in place for your employees to be successful. Process versus a procedure. This is where a lot of people get mixed up. Right? A process is start to finish how we complete something. Within that process, there may be multiple procedures. So if you start thinking about in your head that procedure that I asked you to do, like what's one thing we want to document, if you start documenting that and you're on like page 12, you probably are documenting a full process and not a procedure. So kind of having that understanding. So sometimes a process can be a single procedure, but more often than not, especially if it's a complicated one, you're going to have multiple procedures along the process. And that's kind of what it looks like. This would be a map of an entire process. Each one of the circles along the way would be a procedure that we do something. Why is capturing SOPs easy and sometimes very difficult? Some of the processes that we have, easy. Clear, repetitive tasks with well-defined procedures we are doing. It's just, you know what to do. Those are easy to document, right? Sometimes if you're going through the documentation and you have established tools and templates, it's easy to plug in, right? Those are easy to complete. When they're difficult is obvious. When we have a very complex workflow with lots of different variables. A lot of times when it's a new process, there's not any clarity to it, or your team can't agree on how it should be done. And then sometimes we're just change is hard for people. We don't want to do it a different way. There may be a really cool way to do it, but I like doing it this way. I've been doing it this way for 20 years. I'm not going to change. Those are when we run into a lot of different problems. Overcoming these, it can be pretty difficult at times. We just want to break down into really complex tasks. If we have a procedure that is complex, we really want to line those steps out and break it down into simple tasks. And then getting a team to work on it is usually a good way to attack those difficult ones. And then the last one is that I like to talk about a lot is foster a collaborative culture to encourage contributions. I love talking to teams and they start talking about their procedures and they're like, you know what, something's not right. And you know that we've done something when they say, well, you know we've done something right when they say, you know what, why don't we look at our procedure and see how we're doing this and see if there's a place that we can evaluate it. So again, go back and think about that first process that I asked you to think about. The first procedure. Is it a procedure or a process? When you thought, hey, there's one thing that we should be documenting that isn't done, is it a full procedure or is it a giant process? My favorite question that we get all the time is, can I just use AI to write my standard operating procedures? Absolutely. I use AI every single day to write standard operating procedures. It's a great way to do it. We have cut costs for clients. We typically bill by the hour. So if there's a simple process that I can write with AI, we do it. However, if you're going to do that, you probably should know the process to make sure that what it spit out is accurate. Last year, roughly 45% of our work was based off of people who came to us after trying to do things with AI and been like, this ain't working. It's not good. Most people, even though AI is improving in this space, most people still don't know how to ask the right commands and prompts to get the right. I want to give you an example. I love this example. So this is an example of how to create a new invoice for QuickBooks. Any of you QuickBooks users? Unfortunately. Yeah. Well, I got a solution for you if you want to get away from it. I officially ended with the cult yesterday. This is for creating a new invoice. Now, for those of you that are familiar with QuickBooks, there's two new invoices that you can create. There is a new invoice for an existing client, and there is a new invoice for a new client. So what they did was they put, how do you create a new invoice in QuickBooks? And what you can see, this was what spit out. It's not wrong. It's also not right either. So in here is the example. So this was based on AI had not kept up with the new UI that was there. And if you logged into QuickBooks this week, you saw the UI changed again. All the stuff has been shifted to the left. But so the new invoice, this was for new customers only. It didn't take into account that the invoice that the customer may already exist. Applicable taxes. It gave the instruction applicable taxes. Well, for that company, they don't sell services that have taxes. So that was completely useless to them. So again, it's not wrong, but it did not apply. That was not the standard operating procedure for that business. And then the same thing, or print it for mailing. They do not mail invoices. So that step there, if you were training a new person using those instructions, they would not follow the correct instruction and the invoices would be wrong. They would be frustrated. The person training them would be frustrated, and your invoices wouldn't be done. And we all know what happens when invoices don't get sent out. This is what the actual process looked like. This is how we wrote it. You can see that their steps are much shorter. In those steps also, we try to put, anytime you click something, we make it bold. What I want to do is we want to create something that can comprehensively be followed by someone that is brand new writing operating procedure or new to the process. Or I want to be able to have it like maybe someone's filling in, they're kind of familiar with the process. They can likely just skip down and click the bold stuff so they don't actually have to read the whole thing. So planning and structuring your SOP, crash course right now on how to plan these things. All right, so one, let's go back to that process again that I asked you to think about. All right. Get a clear picture in your head what that process should look like from start to finish, ideally what the end product is. And then we asked ourselves the good question. Whenever we do these standard operating procedures, we always want to have what is good. So when we get the good that we're looking for, I also want to think about what can catastrophically go bad if it isn't done well. But we're going to ask these 7 simple questions to determine the good questions. Steps. What steps do I need to take along the way to write my standard operating procedure? Outcome. What does good look like? What is it going to look like at the end if it is completed or finished? How can we teach the person how to use this operating procedure the first time? When you're done, how do they know they're done? How do we determine what metrics are we going to use to determine what good is? Good is a pretty vague term. So what does good look like? And then more importantly, in some cases, what does bad look like? Depending on how high stakes the procedure is, sometimes it's more important to know what bad looks like and all the bad things that can happen. Why is the process important to either the team, the customer, or management? Why does this process have to be done? Prep, what are the steps that we need to have done before that? What tools or what things need to be in place before that? And then the last one, the completion, what steps are needed to complete the process? We want to be very clear with that end process. So there's no click, done, print this. We want to be very clear in the end process. Sometimes when an organization starts, they're like, hey John, great idea, we want to document our SOPs. We're going to document everything. Going back to the paint guy in Indiana, we literally, the only thing we did not do is I said, he's like, I don't think we've done an SOP on how to use the break room microwave. We did everything. I'm like, we can do that too if you want to. But there is a lot of times when you start a project like this, it's like, where do I even start? Where do I start if we want to document everything? So for me, there's a lot of different ways that you can approach it. Frequency. I like starting with frequency because usually if we do ones that are done every day, people know those, right? Those are the ones that we can get documented fairly quickly. They're the easiest to train on because our staff is the most familiar. Risk and impact are really kind of tied together. What if we don't? What if this procedure doesn't get done? What happens? Sometimes it's not a big deal and we can just kind of go along. Other times it's critical and could end operations completely. And then knowledge gaps. A lot of times it's like what key skills are missing and then having to prioritize tasks. And then when we write SOPs, a lot of times it's really easy for companies to just say, I want one person to write them, and that is the ruler of all SOPs. And oftentimes those SOPs aren't usable because they've been written by one person who's done the process forever, and then that person leaves, and then we try to give them to someone else, and they're just convoluted and they're too difficult. So what we try to do is we try to break up into 3 different pieces. We have the champion. That is the person that's usually management, doesn't always have to be management. They are the one that's going to be like, yes, we've got to do this, we're going to get it done, and here's why we're going to get it done, here's why we get it done for the employee. The authors, they're the ones ones that actually write the standard operating procedure. Typically, you want to have your subject matter expert writing your SOPs, the ones that know the project as well. And then from there, what we want to do is we have an approver. Now, I'm probably going to redo this point slide at some point because I think there's a fourth one here that kind of falls between that author and approver. And I think we're going to call it the tester. All right, what we'd like to do, and I'm going to use kind of the accounting company that we work with right now, we just redid their payroll, how they operate with payroll. And what I did was I worked with their payroll expert on how to do the process. And then what we did was we identified when she goes on vacation, who's going to be her backup. And we said, can you follow these directions? And we're going to have him run payroll next time using those directions with her there. And then that way, that's how we're going to check to make sure that those work. And that tester, we kind of want to have them also be the approver. But again, I think that kind of goes back to management as well, saying, yes, this is what I envision that this process will look like. So I think I need to update this slide a little bit, but really you need to have, if your champion is your author and is your approver, you're going to have a very hard time getting buy-in with your operating procedures through. So you really need to make this a collaborative team effort. All right, so we're getting tight here in time. So, how to capture an SOP. First, identify the process. That's the most important part. What are we going to document? Step number 2, gather input from the key people. If this is a process that is done by 4 or 5 people, you're best to get them in a room and say, how do you do this? You may be horrified to find out that you have 5 people doing one process that you thought they were doing the same way, 5 different ways. That is a great way for you to really sit down and identify. Likely, if that's happening, you probably have some process issues along the way. Outline steps clearly and concisely. So we got to go back to the word standard in the word standard operating procedure. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we do not have to account for every single variable that could happen during a procedure. Right? We want to find the standard. 9.5 times out of 10, how do we do this? Those nuances, the one-offs, those we take care of. That's where mentors and training and experience come in. When we write our standard operating procedures, we really want to make sure that it's 9.5 times out of 10, what does this process look like? All right, here's the one that we run into a lot. Standardizing vocabulary. This is one I have literally had like arguments break out in the middle of meetings with what we call it. My favorite was up at CSU Pueblo. And I can't remember that they were bickering between the word term, semester, and there was a third one. And come to find out, they all had like a different definition of meaning on it, and they were using them. So like that, that became kind of a heated battle up there on which one we are going to use. So it's really making sure that when we collaborate and we use standardized terminology, and then we take that one step further, we want to use that same terminology when we're talking to our customers as well. Screenshots, we have a lot of visual learners. People don't like to go through step by step, so if you have the technology and tools to be able to take screenshots to show steps, we like to, if it's a computer program where people have to click things, we like to bold what they click, take a shot of the UI, and then put like a red box around what they want to click. We find that that is an incredibly helpful tool for people who are going through it, and that's really great for the people who just want to skim through and move through it quickly. And then test and gather feedback. Your SOPs should not be etched in stone. There's a reason why we try to not print manuals anymore. We don't want to have a book that sits on a shelf that doesn't get used. We incorporate all of our SOPs in the learning management system, and they should be regularly reviewed. And your team should feel comfortable that anytime they work through a process and something isn't going right, to be able to raise the flag and say, hey, we need to look at this. If you have it clearly defined, you're saying, we need to look at step 5. If you don't have it clearly defined, you're like, this process isn't working. It's an easy way for you to identify within a process what is working and what is not. And then after you've got everything, you've tested, you've gone through it, you've revised it, you've got it again, I would highly recommend you put your SOPs in the learning management system or some other digital tool to keep track of them. And then we want to come up with plans to regularly review them. If it is a daily process that we do, we probably want to look at it every couple months to make sure that it's working. When I was working with the college, they have some processes that they do once a year. And what we came up with was they complete it, and then once they're done, they're going to really look back at it to see what they need to change for the next year. But you should come up with a plan to regularly review things. Choosing the best approach for writing, systematizing, creating, capturing. There are a number of different ways to do this, and that should give you a little bit of comfort that there's not just one tried and true way to get these done. A lot of it's going to depend on what your product is or what it is, the process that you're doing is going to be the best way to navigate that. So that is it for me. Real quick, the one thing that we have really started to work a lot on lately is if you or someone you know, which I guarantee they are having trouble hiring people, one of the things that we have been incredibly successful with is that we have taken everything that we've just presented, we have put it into a learning management system, and what we are now doing is we are working with local colleges and schools to help people build their own workforce through internships. So what we try to do is we try to get people who are like, nothing drives me nuts more than when a company's like, I can't find anybody to help do any of this work. And they have an intern standing over in the corner doing nothing. It happens all of the time. People don't know how to use interns. We have been doing a lot of development like that. And what we've done is now that you put it into the learning management system, your learning management system drives the training. And unless you have confidential information, sensitive information, things like that, that someone that's an intern can't see, it is a really great way for you to start to develop your own workforce. I could do a whole other presentation on that, but I made you suffer through the boring part of the presentation. Now, Audrey will get to talk to you about everyone loves marketing way more than setting SOPs. So I'm going to turn it over to my super awesome marketing guru, and she's going to come up here and talk to you about fun stuff.
Before we switch over really quick, and I do apologize, Catherine O'Grady from the Small Business Development Center. I'm in car issues on the way here, so I'm very sad that we had to come in midway. Can you, as far as your learning management tools, is this something that you build out, or do you have favorites?
Well, I don't want to give my favorite, because we are going to build one out.
You are? Okay.
We are going to build one out. But honestly, my favorite is probably Trainual.
Okay.
For small businesses, it's a little expensive.
Okay.
So what we did this year was kind of fun. We essentially did a co-op with a learning management system. I white labeled one. And then what I did was, it's called Talent LMS. And what a company can do, say like the college, they can do different branches for like their accounting, for their data, stuff like that. So what we did, instead of using those branches for different parts of a company, I assigned branches to different companies. So they were all in, so we kind of co-opted it.
Yeah.
There have been pros and cons to that, but I think one, it provided them with the, we need an LMS. Like most people, that's a hard sell. If they haven't used it, they don't see the benefit in it.
Right.
And two, it allowed them some flexibility to grow into that. And now a couple of them are like, yeah, we're gonna get our own. And when that's the case, I usually recommend training.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Good to know. I wish there was a cheaper option that was similar.
They're all, and unfortunately, they're all about the same price.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. It's all you.
Questions?
I don't think so.
I got one.
Yeah.
What range of time would you say has been most effective for you to review these SOPs that you're...
So I've had clients that I've worked with for a week. We've gone through and I've reviewed and helped them revamp critical situations. Second 61, I don't think you guys are ever going to get rid of it. I mean, it's a wide, so it really depends on what your goal is. If you're looking for like critical, we just want to have our key people, we can probably knock that out pretty successfully in a month.
So my question, sorry to not be clear enough, after you have a successful SOP written, how often do you find yourself revisiting for updates? Because I think you had a point number 5 that mentioned that was key.
That's a tough one because it really depends on how, if it's a brand new process and you've written it for the first time and you want, sometimes it's really quick, like you
Right.
like once and you're like, this isn't working. But then there are other times where we know the process and we're only documenting it essentially to train people. We want to bring new people on and we want to scale. But I would say on average you want to look at them about every 6 months. That kind of gives you a ballpark, even if it's a daily one.
Yeah.
That's still, and that's a big part of the implement. So you can write your SOPs.
Yeah.
Then we didn't even talk about implementing them, and that's a whole different thing. And with that becomes the regular cycles of review.
Yeah, and that's what stoked that question for me was you mentioned the QuickBooks UI changing, which happens in every application all the time.
Yep.
Right. So I was just curious.
Yeah, that's kind of one. There's a lot of times where people will say, hey, we review these every 6 months. QuickBooks goes and does that. It's like, yeah, we can't wait 6 months.
Yeah.
We've got to redo this. We've got to redo this now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Love development.
Anybody else? I'll be sticking around after too if anybody has more questions.
I have a question that some people in here might get. So in IT, you often have an internal SOP structure, and then you have an external customer-facing knowledge base. What would be the best way for a company that's using either proprietary tools or supporting businesses that use proprietary tools to build out an internal knowledge base per customer an external knowledge base per customer for that customer to reference so that they're not consistently.
As a general rule, I hate internal and external knowledge bases. If there is any way possible that we can take the internal documentation that may be filled with technical stuff that may not apply to the customer, as a general rule, I would take that same system, that same SOP, and I would take out what doesn't need to be there necessarily for the customer. And where that's really critical is we find with people that have sales. Because when you have a set of instructions for internal or a set of terminology for internal and you have a different one for customer facing, what ends up happening is you've got the salesperson in the middle or anybody that does support and they're trying to bounce back and forth between the two. That becomes really, really difficult. So if we can take those directions and pare them down as much as we can, using the same terminology, the same process, that is significantly more effective than having basically 2 separate sets of standalone documentation.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, all yours.
Hello, I'm Audrey. I'm very pregnant, as you guys can tell. 34 weeks. So if I seem like I'm out of breath and I'm taking big breaths, it's because I am. There's not a lot of space going on here, so bear with me. And this is totally casual too. So if you guys need a flag down, waiter, waitress, grab whatever you need. Like I was chomping through that because I was super hungry whenever Jonathan was going through his stuff. Totally feel free to do that. I want this just to be like a casual thing. If you have a question, raise your hand or give a shout out. We can just kind of go from there. So this seems like a big dumb question. Raise your hand if you know what marketing is. If you have some kind of idea, you've been with a little bit of marketing. Does anybody want to share maybe some thoughts that they have about the definition of marketing? Yeah.
Marketing is everything. Marketing
Yes.
is where you are, it's what you do, it's who you know, it's marketing's everything.
I love that. Anybody else want to share one? Yeah.
It's voodoo.
Okay, I kind of like that too. Yeah, it's a little bit of voodoo. Yeah, Dante.
I think it's like how you present yourself, not just in like actual marketing, like doing social media or website, but how you are as a business and are as a person. You're always like being perceived. So it's kind of like how other people are seeing you and what you're giving them. 'Cause
Yeah.
There's intentional and unintentional stuff you're giving people and how they perceive you.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, go ahead.
It's storytelling.
Storytelling. I really like that. Yes, it is storytelling. So you guys are all right. It's literally all of those things. Marketing encompasses just a plethora, an amount of how you stand up for your business, how you have storytelling. It's everything. It's a little bit of hoodoo voodoo magic. It's everything kind of put together. So we're just going to talk a little bit about a couple of things that you can do as business owners and entrepreneurs right now for your business within marketing that you don't necessarily have to hire somebody for. And obviously, if you want to, we do a great job. So these are 4 things to consider. There's a lot more than just 4 things. Obviously, they go into marketing. But these 4 things are the big ones. So budget and profit. Raise your hand again if you are, well, yeah, raise your hand if you're a business owner, actually, in here. Okay, awesome. So raise your hand if you are making what you want to make right now as a business owner. That's kind of a touchy question. 1 person. I love that. Okay, so as we know, with business owning and entrepreneurs too, profit takes a while, right? It takes a little bit of time to get there. And your budget is so important to that profit because every dollar that you make is time spent. So with whatever budget that you have going on, whether that's marketing, whether it's processes, whether it's whatever part of your business, you want to make sure you're very clear cut within that budget. So whenever we're talking about marketing, there's a lot you can do with marketing, and yes, it can be very expensive. Because that's one thing that I do with business owners is that marketing costs, you know, hundreds or thousands of dollars, whatever. That's true, but there's very smart strategic ways that you can budget for things like marketing that's not going to kill your profits. The second thing is time. Time is also money. Time is also spread very thin as a business owner and an entrepreneur, right? Your time is spent wearing so many different hats, doing so many different things for your business to try to make it successful. So whenever you're considering marketing and you're putting time into things like marketing, you want to make sure that that time is well spent for whatever marketing efforts that you're putting in. Another one is goals. So as a business owner, yeah, I mean, you have to have goals, right? If you don't have goals as a business owner, then we should talk. You need to rethink some things because your goals is what's going to drive you forward. And that might be small goals, it might be big goals. But any goals that you do have, if marketing comes into play or you need to promote your business in any way, those goals need to align with whatever facet of your business that you are going to be promoting, that you are going to be using those channels for. And then the 4th would be expertise. I don't know everything. I'm sure everybody in here doesn't know everything. I'm sure we like to say sometimes we know everything. But a lot of times we are lacking in expertise in a lot of parts of our business. So as a business owner, once you start a business, you obviously know that there are very specific things that you are not good at. It's just gonna happen. That's what it is. There's things that you're really good at, and then there's things that you're not. So if we're talking about marketing, we want to make sure whatever we are pushing out as a business owner, whatever marketing that we're doing, we have a certain amount of confidence and ability and expertise to be able to push out that little bit of marketing in order to help our business grow. And with that, you're thinking of all these other things. So these aren't standalone. They all talk to one another. We doing good? Do you have any questions so far? Whenever we're talking about budget, I wrote down a couple budget-friendly tips for small businesses, and these are things that you can start doing on your own right now that you don't need to hire out for. So, word of mouth referrals, those don't cost anything. People talking about your business and going to events, I think that's up there too, yeah, attending local events. Word of mouth reviews, those don't have to cost anything. You just show up with a business card, and that's also with local events. Just show up with a business card in hand, start talking about your business, get people talking about your business. Super free, super easy to do. Attending local events, same thing. So do you guys have a pretty good local event type community here in Pueblo? Do you feel?
We have several of them, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there's
host
one.
some, so I'm garnering that.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, everyone always says networking, and it's so true, and so many of us hate it. I don't like networking, but it's so important, and it's also a really great free way to promote your business and to market your business. So having that business card in hand is really important for that. Social media presence and consistency. And I have consistency with an exclamation point because anybody can make a Facebook page. Anybody can make a LinkedIn page. Anybody can make an Instagram page. It makes it so easy. But the consistency of posting, whether it's once a week, twice a week, it just shows that you are putting something into your business. And that tells people that you're taking the time and effort in order to make your business look good. Simple website. Websites do not have to be hundreds of dollars. They can be super simple. You can just have a homepage. Throw a couple photos on there. Talk about yourself. Talk about your business. Have a contact form. That's a website. So having a simple website is really important. It's arguably the most important digital marketing aspect of your business because your website is painted all across everything that you do. Whether it's Google Business Profile, whether it's your social media accounts, whether it's your business card, having that website is probably the biggest first step that you can make, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy fancy. And then collaboration with local businesses. If you want to partner up with another business, that's great. You get people talking about your business, you're talking about their business, and it just brings the community together and helps with local economy. These are some helpful marketing resources for the self-starter. So I was talking with, what's his name again? Michael. I was talking with Michael before everyone kind of got here. And Michael has been in the IT world since 1988. And I thought, that is crazy to be in one industry for so long, especially something like technology, because things are always changing. Like, believe it or not, there was a time before ChatGPT. That was crazy to think about.
It's painful.
There was a world before ChatGPT. So whenever we're talking about some of these systems up here that I use personally with marketing and other people use with marketing, it's going to change. It's always changing. It's always in flux. Technology comes and goes. Things become obsolete. But as they are here now, you might as well use them, right? So just kind of quickly going over this Canva. Raise your hand if you've heard of Canva. The majority, pretty much, yeah. So Canva is really great for design. ChatGPT, I don't think I need to talk about it. It's there to use. You guys all know how to use it. It's really awesome. It's a great resource to have. Google, if you guys have Google, some companies use Microsoft just for security reasons, and that's totally fine. But having something online within the cloud, like Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets, Google Drive, really helps just keep everything together in one place. Excuse me. Trello. Who's heard of Trello? Perfect. Okay. So Trello is a project management board. Super, super easy. And there's a ton of these types of project management websites out there. There's Airtable, Asana, we use Monday.com. There's so many. So I actually really like Trello because whenever I first started freelancing, it was free and it was super simple, and I needed to keep all my clients and all my to-dos in one space, and so Trello is a really great thing for that. Social media scheduler, later.com is probably going to be the most inexpensive system that you will use, and if you are getting into social media, I would highly recommend doing a social media scheduler. It just makes life so much easier. Squarespace. What's heard of Squarespace? Yeah, their advertising is really great. Their marketing is really great. I actually use Squarespace for our clients' websites. Second 61 has a Squarespace website. So many other clients have Squarespace. Squarespace is great for just starting off and making that super simple website we were talking about with just a homepage. They have a lot of templates that you can just kind of plug and chug. And Jonathan here,
I can even do it.
Jonathan can actually edit a website to an extent now, and I was actually pretty impressed. They make it really easy, so if you guys ever need to create or just want to play around with your website, Squarespace is the way to go. And then LinkedIn Learning. Do you guys still, who still uses that? Anybody still use LinkedIn Learning? One person? Okay. Two people? Three people? I like LinkedIn Learning just because they make it really great to like modularize how to learn things instead of going on YouTube being like, what is marketing? How do I do this? So LinkedIn Learning is a really great place for those kind of modular learning training systems. And if you have anything else, we're totally here to help. If you're like, hey, I do want marketing, or hey, what I'm doing isn't working for my business, how can we talk about something that's a little bit more robust or a little bit more encompassing? And it can be something small or it can be something big, and it just depends on these 4 things. So that's our contact. If you need to do that, I do have business cards. I thought I forgot them, but I have them. And I think Jonathan has them too. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Short and sweet for marketing.
Can I ask
Yes,
you
ma'am.
a question? Can you talk for a moment about kind of the shift from SEO to AEO? When that's the topic that's coming up a lot, is how AI is influencing the SEO.
Yes.
Like, do you see that as something that's vitally important for people to pay attention to right now?
That's a great question. So who uses something else besides Google to search things? Anyone? What do you guys use, if you don't mind sharing?
ChatGPT.
Okay,
AI
in place of Google?
Yeah.
Huh, okay. Anybody else?
Me too.
ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, because if we're talking about things like Bing and Yahoo, it's pretty much non-existent in the United States, right? Globally, it might be a different source. I will tell you right now, ChatGPT, using it will increase your SEO for your website and for your digital marketing space. So anything that you're using ChatGPT for, that algorithm is already baked into that.
Nice, okay.
So whatever you're using within that, it's just gonna help you. That was a good question. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions? Yeah.
How impactful are things like Google reviews and things like that? You see all the time companies offering some sort of incentive, a gift card, a raffle, something like that in return for Google reviews. How impactful is that, and does that make sense for businesses?
Yes. So review management is arguably the best digital marketing promotion that you can provide for your company. That being said, it's sometimes very hard to get reviews from people and from businesses. And sometimes you do have to incentivize, and that's totally fine if that's something that you really need for your business. Like, I just really need to start getting these reviews. And again, going back to Google, Google is kind of like the mecca. So anything that you're optimizing within Google, whether that's reviews, whether it's Google Business Profile, anything within the Google world scope is going to be beneficial to your business. And there's a lot of ways that you can do that. So yes, very important, really great to have reviews. It requires a specific type of strategy to gather reviews in order to make sure that your brand is still within the brand scope that you have. But yeah, I would definitely suggest getting as much reviews as possible.
I have one more.
Yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead.
So, price-wise, the social media scheduler that you suggest, how does it compare to Hootsuite?
Hootsuite, Vista Social, Sprout, there's a couple others out there. They are fine for medium to large size businesses. If you have between 50 and 100 employees and you're making a net profit that's anywhere between 300,000 to $1 million, whatever you're doing, that's great. Use that for your social media scheduler. Later.com is for the mom and pop shops
Love it.
that
Love it.
yes, that are like really starting from the ground up. They just need a content calendar. They need to be able to schedule things out and make it look super simple. And it's what, 20, 25 bucks a month?
Oh wow.
Super
Okay.
simple. Yeah.
Nice.
It's
Okay.
great. They make it really easy. And if you ever need tutorials or anything on that, their customer support is pretty good. And we use later.com for a lot of different things. So, does anybody need some water now that she's here? Can I have can you bring some pictures of water actually? That would be great.
What do you think? She's thirsty.
Can you bring some pictures of water?
Yes, I sure will. I wanted
Thank
to.
you.
I just don't want to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
You're
You're good.
yes, I will.
Any other questions about marketing? Design questions also. I do marketing and design. No? You good? Cool. Alright. Sweet. I don't know if you guys want to take a picture of this one. That way you just have our contact information. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. And then we also we do, Jonathan kind of touched on curriculum a little bit, but we also do curriculum, which is like the third in the trifecta of what we offer for people. So, thanks.
Does anybody have any questions for us before we wrap it up? Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. It's nice for us to get down here. We'd love to do more work. So whether it's with you or if you've got somebody that you know, we would love to do more marketing down here for sure. I would love to come down here and find some growing businesses, or some kind of, my favorite businesses are the ones that are kind of on that cusp of, we know to grow, we've got to make some changes. We've got to reinvest in how we do things. And I would love to sit down and have a good conversation with those types of businesses and see how we can support them. And again, it goes back to, we take a lot of pride in meeting businesses exactly where they're at. We have some pretty junior people that we are working with. We've trained them. They've got great skills. But they're also looking for some experience, and we're trying to find some spots for them. So if you know a company that's like, hey, I just need a little bit of social media right now. Can you help me figure out later.com? Can you help me do a couple posts a week? Or we will support you with that, and not try to sell you other stuff that you don't need. And the idea is that when your business grows, then you're going to come back to us and say, hey, we need a website too. We see a lot of businesses, I don't know if it's the same down here, but we see it all the time in Fremont County. Their marketing is a Facebook page with a picture they took with their phone, and then they posted it. And then 3-4 months later, that business isn't there anymore. That is something that we have seen a lot of. And it's just like, you do not have to spend thousands of dollars on marketing. We'll let you spend thousands of dollars on it, but you do not have to spend thousands of dollars to kind of get started with marketing. And it's really the same thing with the standard operating procedures. If you are a small business and you've just got one person that you rely a lot on, and you want to get what they do documented, we'll come work with you. We'll figure out something to help you get that done. And again, what we want to do is have you succeed, have you grow, and then you have us come back when you get a little bit bigger to do a little bit more with you.
And to add on that real quick, one differentiation that we have as opposed to like another type of agency, if that's what you want to call us, we don't call ourselves an agency. We provide education for everything that we do as well. We can do like training modules. I know that I take time for clients afterwards to be like, this is how you edit your website, go for it. You know, like if you need to edit whatever. So that education part is really important to us.
We have a local vendor that when they create a website for you, good luck getting it edited. It's going to cost you And I said, we don't do that. We will give you the tools. So if you just got to make a basic edit, you do not have to call us and beg to have your site released and beg to have it. We will give you those tools so that you can make those changes on your own.
Cool. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Jonathan.